Okay. Hi, guys. This is Chad. I'm going to be talking about, oops, sorry about that. I'm going to be talking about the materials for our foundation drawing class. Here we get a little more into light and shadow. And so it does take some different tools than just drawing line drawings. Okay. So here we go. I'm just going to review some of them. Let me just pull some out here and pull some paper out here, and we'll just talk about them, and I'll kind of line them up if that works for you. Okay, so first, let's talk about paper. This is you're familiar with this, I think, at this point, but this is just the newsprint. It feels like newspaper. It's very thin. Usually there's different surfaces, like some might be a little more tough. This one I think is a very smooth surface. It's not archival, meaning it will not last. It'll get brittle, it'll crack, it'll break over the years. So you don't want to do any like really nice drawings on it. These are perfect though for practicing. And then you can take pictures of them, and the pictures last a very long time. So, yeah, so we'll just go through. So this is newsprint. I'm not sure what type of drawing paper you have. It's called a Strathmore 400 series, 80 pound. And I think it's very close to this. This is a drawing paper. I think it's a 90 pound. And for those who are not familiar with different poundages of paper, there's really not much difference between an 80 and a 90 pound. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up at a slight angle here, and maybe that will allow you to see, let me get a little bit closer, see a texture to it. So this particular paper has a little bit of a tooth. You can almost hear it when I run my finger over it, compared to the other side, which is a lot smoother. And so one is going to react a little differently to pencil and charcoal than another. Okay, this is, I don't have, so a lot of the tools that I have asked for and that was provided, I don't have. I have some things very, very, very similar, but I don't know exactly. So my paper is archival. That means there's no acid in it, and then it should last for, I think there's a limit, like 100 years or something like that. I believe the Strathmore 400 is. It would just take me a quick web search to look and tell you that. But it's a very similar paper to this. It's kind of a white drawing paper versus our newsprint. Okay, and those are the kind of differences. This one's, I think the ones that you got are smooth. And then this has a little bit of tooth, so this one will last, this one will not. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is pencils. Yours might be a different color than mine as far as the paint color, but they're very similar in hardnesses. So I think what you have right now is an HB, a 2B, and a 4B. So mine is a similar range, but I just dropped down a level, and it's not a big deal. It's not a big difference. You're not going to tell like, oh gosh, he has the 2B, the 4B, and the 6B instead of the HB, 2B, 4B. Do you see it's like there's a range, and you have just a step up and I have a step down. So it doesn't really matter. In fact, just to make things equal, I can just grab a normal pencil, which is an HB. So now I have an HB, a 2B, and a 4B. And I'll get rid of this 6, but they're nice to have if you ever, you know, if you're like, man, I wish you go a little darker, then that would be it. Okay, so these pencils, the HB is a harder graphite, and so it makes a lighter line than as the higher the B's, the softer the graphite is. That doesn't make any sense. It might be the binder that is when we draw on it, it feels softer. So I'm just gonna do a little test up here. You can see that doesn't have, I mean, it's a very hard lead. This is our 2B, and it does get a little bit more dense and darker. And then this is our 4B, and you can see this even gets darker still. And I'll do throw in the 6B too, so you can see see the difference. And then here's a 6B. Now this is also, if I run my finger across it, that's not going to smear so much. The 2B might a little bit. The 4B might more. Maybe I can bring this down. And then the 6B will even more. Okay, so that's also part of the part of having these soft pencils is the smear factor. And this is called a stump, and these can be used to smear around. I didn't include these in this class because you can do it with a lot of other things you might have around the house, like a piece of material will let you do it. You can roll up your own newsprint. Your finger will do it. Your finger will smudge. So I usually use everything. I don't particularly love those pencil stumps. I didn't really grow up I didn't really learn to use the stumps. So anyway, you have a range of pencils. So that's the first kind of bit. You have a white plastic vinyl eraser. Okay. And then you also have a kneaded eraser, and it might look like this, like in a little square, but you take the plastic off, and then you start pulling on it like this. And one of my favorite types of erasers, actually just because it does a whole bunch of things. One, because it's flexible, you can flatten it and like take off large areas, or you can narrow it down and then just take off very small narrow spots. So I love the kneaded eraser because of that. It does get black as you use it, and it's kind of a cleaning process just to pull and push it together, and it kind of distributes. People say this cleans it. I don't see how it could. It just kind of distributes that graphite that it just picked up throughout, and they last a very long time. So a couple erasers, some pencils. We talked about paper, and here you have some vine charcoal. These are vines that are cut and put into a container and baked basically over the fire. I asked specifically to get soft vine, which this is, and I hope you have. But you can play around with it. This one might be a hard, you can't really tell. You can't look at it and go, oh yeah, that's a hard, or that one, no, that's a soft one. This one, I don't really know. I'd have to draw with it. It feels like a hard one, fine charcoal. Oh yeah, that's a total difference. That was hard. This is soft. So maybe that was helpful. You see how this just kind of just pushes on the paper, and really, now watch how much this can be pushed around with your finger. It just picks it up. So one thing, the whole reason for us to use this is because it's so forgiving, it's so fluid, and it's a lot like oil paint, which is why we start out with a soft vine charcoal because it's so much like oil paint. So artists, when they start oil painting, they've had a similar experience with their drawing medium. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you're never going to hold it like you're writing. It's always an underhand hold. There's reasons for that. There's better control. You won't get this sharp point, and so this just to hold it underhand. Now, what I like having is some type of a rag nearby so I can quickly wipe my fingers off, and then start drawing or pushing this stuff around with a clean finger, because if your fingers get dirty and try pushing around, it's not going to go anywhere. So this is a soft charcoal. Now, to go with this soft charcoal, I mean, obviously this goes with it very nicely, because look how you can almost draw these white lines into your values that you've laid down with this charcoal. So wonderful tools, these two together. A couple other tools that go with the soft vine charcoal is, now you may have a sanding block. I just grabbed some sandpaper out of my garage. And if you are going to be, working on a very small area, you can sharpen this by just dragging it across it, and it sharpens it up very, very quickly and efficiently. Likewise, if you need to put on some tone, I mean, that's another way of dropping some tone down. And we might start a drawing that way on some toned paper, but this is a way of doing it. The other thing that goes with all of this vine charcoal stuff is your fixative. So this is a really wonderful fixative. This is a matte, and I'm going to recommend a matte to you. I'm not sure if you actually have this, but it's almost like it's an aerosol spray that when you spray on it and do it outside, because it is so strong, you'll let it dry for 10 or 15 out there, and then you can bring it in and put it in your portfolio and not worry so much about this coming off. See how easily it comes off with my finger? Well, if you put this next to another piece of paper, it's going to come off just as easily and ruin your drawing. This is a fixative, and it creates a barrier over your drawing and keeps all of your charcoal particles in place. It's basically locked. So what I like about this one, it's a workable fixative. So that means once I spray it, like I like where it's at, I'm going to spray it, let it dry, come back in, and then I can work on a little bit more. Can I go underneath that workable fixative layer? Yes, but it does take a little bit of work to penetrate that layer. Like, say, like I sprayed some fixative on this, and I found out, oh gosh, I don't like, I have to. So you're going to be erasing a little bit, and then finally you'll start breaking through, and then you'll finally get to it. But it's something that you want to do at the end of your drawing, ideally. Okay, this workable fixative. Okay, especially if you want to save your drawings, which I'm assuming a lot of you will want to. All right, excellent. A couple other things. So what I really appreciate here is I have two things. Well, three things that I want to show you. One is this wonderful tool. It looks like it's been like I've had it since for a very, very long time, and maybe I have. But this is a composition tool, and when I have an object in front of me, I'm holding this up so I can. It's the same proportion as most of the papers I work on, and so this lets me make my composition by framing it in different ways, right? So like if I wanted to do a little composition of these pencils, maybe that could be an interesting composition like this, right? So this helps me figure that out, and then I can hold it there, do a quick sketch, and then, you know, then I have a layout and something to go with. So please, I would suggest making one of these. And it's some type of a cardboard. You could get the inside of a, you know, a cereal box or any type of mac and cheese or whatever you use, something sturdy. And then you'll cut out, let me tell you what size. Size that I have is a basically 2.5 by 3 3/8. 2.5 by 3 3/8. Which is an 11 by 15. If I size it up and I have an 11/15, so that's mine. You may do one that is a 3 by 4, so you may be using a 9 by 12 paper a lot. So whatever, I'm going to suggest on your Strathmore, okay, so you have some Strathmore. I don't know what the size is, but the idea is to go proportionally down to this. If it's a 9 by 12, then yeah, 3 inches by 4 inches or something smaller, but still in that same proportion. If you need some more help, I can explain it a bit more, but these are very, very helpful when drawing from life. What's interesting is we're going to be drawing a lot from photographs in this class. I'm going to supply you rather than ask you to set up your own composition, your own still life. So this is a great thing. This container is a really good thing. This stuff is so dusty and it gets all over the place, and I like just kind of like closing it up so it's contained and it's not getting mess everywhere. A couple other tools. I understand you got some type of a board from the art department. I'm not sure if you received some kind of gator clips as well. Those gator clips could be clips that look something like this too. Those are fine. But the idea with this is not everyone has a desk at home, so this is going to let you draw on your lap. So if you were to just clip the little edge of the paper into these gator clips, then you could do a drawing and you have a nice hard surface. And I think you may have gotten a wooden board. That would be my guess, but I'm sure some of you will let me know. But this is the idea, is to clip this down and then you can draw on it. So that's really helpful. Now, if you don't have gator clips, what works just as well or sometimes even better is just some tape. I use this, it's an artist tape, which is repositionable. And I've had this a very long time. They just last and last. And this has been around in bags and travel and stuff like that. So regardless, you don't need much to put this paper down on your board. Just little teeny corners is it. Since we're drawing, if we were to do painting or something like that, the paper would bubble a little bit. It's a whole nother story of getting that adhered to the board well, but this is another way of putting your paper down with tape. Now, just to let you know, this newsprint doesn't love tape. It will, even this repositionable artist tape, sometimes isn't very friendly even to the newsprint. So that's why I just say, just barely tape these corners on here. So if it does pull off and ruin them, it's not making a big effect on your drawing. Okay, so I think that's everything. Let's get going on the assignment.